Yeah, change it to like, my mouth's going to go, but I want to hear me say parakeet, something like that.
Today, I am officially declaring a national emergency.
What you're seeing behind me is one of multiple locations that have been burning in Kenosha, Wisconsin over the course of the night.
Radical left. Will you shut up, man?
Listen, the fact is that everything he's saying so far is simply a lie. I'm not here to call out his lies. Everybody knows he's a liar.
Are you okay? Oh my God, the cops are just standing there. The cops are just standing there.
Graduated last in your class, not first in your class.
For the last 20 years, Tom Brady played his home games here at Gillette Stadium. But going forward, he'll look to embrace a new challenge as he heads south to Tampa Bay.
That capitalism is winning in many people's eyes is because people are trying to save it right before it falls off the cliff. The world is going to end if we don't get a Green New Deal.
7, Brady looking the other way, though, firing, and it is caught!
They were teaching people that our country is a horrible place, it's a racist place, and they were teaching people to hate our country. And I'm not going to allow that to happen.
Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter!
Nobody's doing that. He's the racist.
I don't blame you for wearing masks because I'd be hiding my face too if I was you.
We can't lock ourselves up in a basement like Joe does.
We need numbers overwhelming so Trump can't sneak or steal his way to victory.
All right. Brady steps into it, throws. Evans is he inbounds. Touchdown!
Hello, humans. Welcome to Very Good Christian Podcast. I am Shawn Fowler.
I'm Blair Davis.
And it truly is a joy to have you join us this December afternoon. It's freezing out. Santa is preparing to fly around the world. Little kids are getting ready to receive all sorts of ridiculous amounts of presents. And we're going to talk to you about this entire year. We're going to sum it all up. And we're pretty excited to do so. And Blair, please lead us.
So, I think we could sum up this entire year by just saying
one word.
2020.
Sum up the whole year in one word. Now.
2020.
That's a number.
It's a word, though.
If you spell it out with letters.
I was in my head.
All right, fine.
That's, you just
trying
say.
To stump you.
I think people will remember this year for every negative reason. And it's funny because I remember 2017, back when I had Twitter, I think, and people would say, can't wait for 2018. And then 2018 had its own mess, and people would say 2019. And then the biggest thing in the world was every church's outside board is 2020 vision. How's your 2020 gonna look? We're gonna share. Everyone's got 2020 vision, and everyone thought this was gonna be this year of. I mean, I guess it is a year of resetting.
Yes, and everyone who looked at 2020 and say, we are going to have that 2020 vision, once they got far enough into 2020, they realized, oh, wait, there's better than 2020 vision. You could even be 2015. We've missed the ship. It has sailed.
Yeah. It's when every church realized that everything they said about 2020 was not prophetic. Like, we're going to fill this church this year. It's like, nope,
It's, it's possible. I mean, I'm sure there probably were some people that the Lord was speaking to about, like, this sort of stuff happening. But yes, it's not something that you would look forward to and try to pump your congregation up with. You're going to be forced to do online service and, all the litany of other things that comes along with it.
Yeah.
Your child, you'll be in your house with your children
and no more
stop.
Summer vacation is going to be 8 months long.
You will be a teacher and a daycare worker and also your regular job, but in front of your computer at your table while your kids scream in the background. Ah, yes.
Yeah. We really didn't have I guess we had warning, but man, yeah, this year was something else, and I'm excited to talk and recall back to the negatives, and also there were probably some positives in there that I'm sure we can reminisce about.
No, there weren't.
No, not a single one.
Oh, but sure.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Definitely a historic year for people who are alive right now. We have not experienced something like this, especially not in the West, in the developed, society that we just have so much stuff. There's so much wealth, even though we feel like we're poor, but in reality, we middle class people are super rich compared to a lot of the world. We just have so many luxuries. We are so pampered. Yet we know it not, and then just a little bit of that being taken away. Some of the freedom that we are accustomed to being taken away. It was a shock, and it's not over yet.
Not quite. Yeah, we have a little bit more time, but as you will find out, there's so much more that can happen. I know we have the big things, so I get I'll start with one of the basics. Is in 20 years from now, we're in 2040, and you have to recollect this year for some reason. You have to. What would be the first thing that you would mention?
Probably the virus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The vid.
Wait, the what?
The vid.
Oh.
That's a way to get by the censorship.
Parakeet.
Oh. Censored that.
So it will be the parakeet would be the first thing that I mention, certainly. And then after that, it'll definitely be Tom Brady playing for the Bucs.
Oh, is that the most surprising thing you think that happened this year? Out of everything, just picturing all the stuff that could happen. You're like, wait, Tom Brady left the Pats.
No, that also he ended up getting Antonio Brown back with him on the Bucs, even though he only played one game for the Pats, and that he's living with him. So sure, yeah, it's the most shocking thing. When I read that article, I died. I was shocked.
You got a Bucs bumper sticker.
One
of the bigger surprises to me was a lot of states canceling Thanksgiving.
There can only be 2 people present, or whatever.
Yeah.
5.
That was 7. Different states have the different guidelines.
Yes.
So, I saw some of those before Thanksgiving, and that was, I just went, wow.
Yeah, I know.
It's just after everything with all the large gatherings that we could get into, and then Thanksgiving is what gets the axe.
Sure. A good example that I read was the mayor of Chicago. She was talking about how there's serious restrictions coming and that people need to take them seriously because they will respond in kind. So she wasn't being specific there, but just basically talking about we're going to be enforcing, we're going to get out fines, that sort of stuff. 2 days before, she was out in the street celebrating Joe Biden's ostensible victory. Anyway, but she's out there, partying, I guess, without a mask among a big group of people.
Well, she had it pulled down because she had a megaphone.
Oh, she was yelling into the megaphone at the...
Yeah, I saw that video.
I just read it being described. I didn't know that.
I saw the video, and because she was defending herself, and she said, people need something to be happy about, and they need something to celebrate, and this was that thing. And I thought, what about Thanksgiving? Thanksgiving's a pretty, that makes more than half the country happy.
Yeah. Now, it's a holiday. I don't know if you would say that you celebrate during holidays. It's more of a somber time.
It's a time to be alone.
Yes, exactly.
Or did you see the videos of people hugging through tarps? Like that. No. That's how you should spend your Thanksgiving.
Oh, that's not a bad idea.
They had this grandma hasn't seen her grandkids in 9 months, and so they had this tarp with hand holes, and so the kids could hug grandma.
Why do you need the holes? You could hug someone, wrap them up with a tarp and hug them. You don't need armholes. Why even touch? This isn't... Now that you're saying this makes a lot of sense to me, because when people gather for Thanksgiving, there are sometimes some relatives that dislike one another. So what you could do is have those ones separated with a blue tarp rather than a see-through one. So they don't even have to,
You don't even have to see them.
Like everyone can gather but still be in their factions that dislike the other faction and separate those, with the colored tarps. That's not bad.
So we had the winter. Well, I guess the story of the year has really been the vid. But we had the summer of mostly peaceful protest.
Sure.
Or if you're CNN, fiery but mostly peaceful protests.
When you think about it, fire often does have this calming, soothing effect on the human psyche, I think, right? We gather around campfires, we toast marshmallows, and we relax. And does it matter whether it's logs in a serene rural backyard or whether it is, a third police precinct in a downtown urban area? Fire's fire, and it has that effect. So I could see how, you could have buildings ablaze and people also protesting in a peaceful manner.
And there were plenty of peaceful protests. You had one news stream where everything was violence and burning and looting, and then the other was, the other side of things was the people that the police were attacking, and then they'd have the clip of the peaceful protesters and trying to make it seem like the police were just attacking people that were sitting in a park or something like that. There was definitely division, and I can understand it the way that every mainstream news outlet did a major disservice throughout this entire year, and I've become significantly less conservative, I think, to be honest with you.
Less conservative in the sense that you felt like conservative media was portraying the situation less honestly than the liberal media. Is that what you mean? Or
so as I start talking things out and rationalizing thoughts, not that I would take anybody's side, it's just that I don't blindly follow one or the other. When you look at everything that's being said, and if you're taking in one source of media, not only are they painting a situation a certain way, but they've also painted the other news media as the enemy, and vice versa. So I can understand. Sure. I can totally empathize with anybody who has no idea what's going on, who hates this party, or they, I get it.
Yeah, because they only get their info from one side.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's a big problem.
Yeah.
One major eye-opening thing that happened, in me this year was recognizing that the mainstream non-Fox media is just as biased as Fox is. So coming into this year, I had the general sense. I mean, I started following politics more closely probably in the beginning of 2015. Really before that, I wasn't all that interested. And, so following that, Republican and Democrat primaries, following those, watching debates and stuff like that back in 2015. And all through that time, I'm a Christian, and obviously in an atmosphere where most people lean conservative, where it's basically, if you're a Christian, you're a Republican, that sort of thing. But I try to think critically and to be, less biased. We can't be unbiased completely. And so I would see the major, just the Republican bias in Fox News. And in my opinion, it was more than the other ones were, although the other ones definitely leaned left. That was my mindset even coming into 2020. But then with the parakeets coverage and like you're talking about, the protests and the complete denial of the riotous aspects of them. It's just so crazy. And I started to look at Trump with a little more of a sympathetic view. And I also simultaneously, this was just coincidental, but started getting into podcasts, listening to them. And I started listening to some independent political commentators, and then also some liberals that also criticize their own side.
Which makes them not liberal anymore.
Exactly. No, I know. It's like it makes them a parakeet. What? Yeah.
If there was one word for 2020.
No, I know, right? It's like we...
Oh, we have to find a replacement word for that one too, actually.
We have to... People who are calling, like, you voted for Trump, therefore you're a parakeet, right? If you think that way, you have to do some research about the parakeet and what they actually did. And anyway, I just saw that this major bias that I'm like, wow, there really isn't a difference. It's like it's like the same amount of bias. And yes, like let's say with Trump, there are plenty of things to criticize, big time. But it's not true that every single thing the man does is horrible. It is possible for him to do something correctly or to say something that's true. It is possible, you know. And this tribalism where it's like, this person I hate, and so it doesn't matter what comes out of the person's mouth.
Sure.
It's wrong and it's evil or whatever. And Republicans can do that to Democratic politicians as well. Although Trump does seem to have like a unique hatred for him. It seems like he has reached like a new level of political hatred. But it is true. Both sides can be very hateful of the politicians on the other side. It's tough. It's almost like dehumanizing. It's just so easy to vilify and act really ungodly.
Now we go into the fall. And I think there's two specific things that highlight the fall, and that would be the election, and all of America suddenly really, really cares about the Supreme Court.
Once a justice dies, you know, people are very focused. And so with Ginsburg's death, hopefully I can say Ginsburg, I don't know.
RBG.
It means something mountain in German. I don't know. But, yeah, she passed away. And, you know, she had a long, prestigious life. And, you know, I don't claim to know a ton of what she did. But it's something that, you know, Democrats were getting very upset about because, well, this is the thing. It's an election year. And so the last election year in 2016, Antonin Scalia died fairly early in the year. Was it February or March? And the Republican Senate refused to hold hearings on Obama's appointee because saying that, well, it's because it's an election year. We need to have the people vote, and whoever is the next president will decide it. Were they right in doing that? Not really back then in 2016. But the bottom line is the Constitution gives the Senate the power to confirm. And if they don't want to, because the Republicans have the majority, they don't have to. It's not necessarily the right thing to do, but it was legal.
It's shady for sure. On the opposite end, the Democrats were also saying, no, it doesn't matter that it's an election year. You know, Barack Obama is our president, and so he should pick. And now this year, it's no one's ever been appointed after July.
So that was no one's been confirmed after July.
Yeah, that was the defense against Amy Coney Barrett.
Sure.
So I'm like, no, you know, just nobody sticks to their principles or the point that they are on video saying previously.
Yeah, both seem to have flip sides. The Republicans probably more like their hypocrisy there seems to be a little more egregious. But the bottom line is, it's still she kept being called like Barrett is like this illegitimate justice, but it's just not true. Everything that happened was according to the law. There's nothing in the Constitution that demands there be a liberal majority. on the court. That's, there's been a liberal majority for quite a while, and that just has changed in the past few years. People don't like that. The bottom line is we have a dual party system, and when the president and the Senate are not of the same party and it's an election year, that appointee to the Supreme Court is probably not going to be confirmed if they're of different parties.
Yeah.
And so, it's very tribalistic, and it's all about my team winning to some degree. But that's kind of how it is. Yeah. And I being pro-life, and I being someone who, it's just interesting, like when it comes to the Constitution, I do agree with the philosophy of trying to interpret it in an originalist sort of way. Like, what did the authors mean when they were writing this out? And what's the principle here? Because that's the way I prefer to do scripture. Not so much what does this mean to me now, but what did the author mean?
I like the idea, again, and no one meets in the middle anymore, and I think a lot of Americans are okay with meeting in the middle in certain circumstances, but I like the idea of taking an originalist perspective, but then applying it to today's context, and not what does it mean to me, but what does this mean now?
Oh, sure.
So the idea specifically would be, the Second Amendment and how it was about muskets, and, no one had, AK-47s, and no one had AR-15s in when the Constitution was written,
which is true. Yep.
So, but but it also doesn't ban this or that either in the Constitution, and so this idea that now we can ban anything that isn't a musket is,
Oh yes.
I think context is important, but
like for the Second Amendment, for instance. A question would be, well, what's the purpose of these firearms? And largely we see it so that the populace, it can defend itself if need be against its own government, right? Right. That's actually the context.
Yeah.
And could you do that? Like if there were militias being formed today with muskets, how well would they do? If we had some crazy, situation going on, and like parakeet gets way worse, nobody has jobs, and things get all crazy, and then you a group of people who are armed with 18th century weapons aren't going to be able to fend off anybody. And of course, yes, even if you had AR-15s, if they drone you, it wouldn't matter. But still, you know what I mean? They were giving the people of that time comparable weaponry, like the right to have weaponry that was comparable to, the military, the soldiers and stuff. So, when you bring that principle over to today, it seems to make sense that you can have more than just a musket.
Being that I was one of those people who was laid off through the vid, I got to see the election play out, and I didn't sit there and watch the news and watch YouTube and all that, so I don't want to give that impression, but I was able to see how brilliant Ted Cruz is, and given he was a presidential candidate, I didn't pay, similar to you, I didn't pay much attention to politics.
Lyin' Ted.
Yeah,
that was his nickname.
Yeah, and to see him, and people even bash him now, saying the president called you lying Ted. He said all these terrible things about you. Why do you defend him? And Ted Cruz is brilliant. He is such a smart man, and he's also able to say, listen, Trump's not nice, but he's not. Just because he insulted Ted Cruz personally in pretty awful ways.
Oh yes.
He still can put that aside and say not everything he does is bad. Between that, between Amy Coney Barrett and listening to the way that she answered questions, I remember, my wife would come home from work and I would say, I listened to what Amy Coney Barrett said today, and she is just, this unshakable woman. And this woman that really did not have much fault, and it was all these kind of, again, partisan issues that was the hold up of getting approval, which she was confirmed, but so she was something special, and also someone that I didn't think I would agree with or even kind of pay much attention to is Cory Booker. When he was questioning Amy Coney Barrett, and I don't know much about him. I don't know if he was kind of feigning, like trying to get sympathy. I don't know his motivation, but his questioning for her a couple times, I just saw something in there that seemed outside the Democrat Party, and I'm not sure what it was specifically, but I just went, he's not so bad. So just to play on both sides there, I being somebody that was, again, blindly conservative because I thought that's what I was supposed to do. Just listening to people and listening to the arguments and just seeing what's going on, I could appreciate him specifically and more than some of the other questioners.
You independent, you.
Right.
Not to speak ill of the dead, and it's really not that, but just being realistic about it, is that Ginsburg knew, she was first diagnosed with cancer, during Obama's tenure as president. And so, she could have, if she really wanted to be replaced by a liberal justice, she could have stepped down during his administration, but obviously she was banking on Clinton winning.
Sure.
But it didn't happen, so it's like, I don't know, just kind of blaming it. It's like nobody caused her to die. You know what I mean? Like, no politician caused her to die. She happened to die. This guy's the president. He appoints someone. The Senate's of the same party. They're going to confirm.
We have spoken a lot about what our viewers already know. With our year, we started this podcast. We really started it in the early summer and didn't have anything successful.
Yeah, the release was like October 12th, something like that.
Yeah, it was the first or second week of October.
Second.
Yeah.
That second Monday. Oh,
yeah. We ended up in a whole other building. So we were in your first apartment, then you guys moved within a week.
Yeah, it wasn't big enough for the podcast, so we had to, go to a new studio. We're still in a basement, maybe. But the first one, old school basement, stone foundation.
Yeah.
And looked pretty cool.
Looked great.
We ended up recording maybe 4 different times there, and none of it.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I don't think that we're particularly dumb people, but gosh, every time we recorded, I'd be like, how did we mess that up? Or something like that. Why is that video like that? Or how did that microphone not work? Or, audio issues every time.
Exactly. And we had some, fairly good content. If we had put it out, that content, it would have gone viral.
We would be in the hills right now.
Yeah.
Orange County.
Sure. Exactly. But, we scrapped it.
We both became dads, except yours are much older than mine.
Just tell me something that being a father has taught you this year, since becoming one.
Wow. No, it definitely taught me more patience. I was a lot less patient at first, and I remember saying to my wife, really confiding in her right after she went back to work from maternity leave, and I was watching our daughter, and she had a bad day, and I said, I don't think I'm going to be a good dad. And I was so afraid. I'm terrified of just kind of reliving family history, to put it politely. But patience, and also from a more abstract faith perspective, you know, just the way that she is towards me and the way I am towards her helps me to better visualize a Christian and God perspective. Not that I'm claiming to be God at all. Just the way when she's determined to come, like, crawl to me or something like that, or when she's, you know, she bumps her head plenty. And, you know, when I pick her up and she stops, and it's this, you know, when we actually allow God to cover us in a special way, you know, the pain does stop. And, you know, so there's both of those things I think I've learned. How about you, being that you have a different dynamic?
It has shown me how selfish I am. And I already knew this to some degree, but it has amplified it and really shown me just, and this is a common thing for people when it comes to kids learning how to live for others. You know, and you don't even have to be a Christian to experience this. To be a good parent requires some selflessness.
Yeah.
To put others before yourself. And especially because when it's just the two of you and, you know, you and your spouse, and you just got so much free time, you have all this time, just the two of you, but then you also end up having a lot of alone time as well. And especially with time, you know, and you get children. So for us, you know, we have two elementary aged girls, and we began our parenting with two girls at that age, you know, at that category of age. So we didn't start with an infant like people normally do. And, yeah, so they're at a different place, you know, needy as well, but still, like, you know, able to talk and wanting your attention and you know, a lot, and so, and this is good stuff. I mean, we love them so much, and we're so blessed to have them in our lives. It's a great, amazing thing. We're thrilled about it, but it doesn't come without struggles, without hardship. And part of it is just me having to deal with the fact that I'm, like, selfish about my time and about just, like, all sorts of things, really focused on me. And I need to learn, I think I've been learning to some degree, but I need to learn a lot more how to be focused on others and to put them first, and to be, you know, that sort of a parent, and to, you know, and I want to paint it correctly too. This isn't like we provide for them, we care for them. It's, you know, a loving home and all that stuff. Because I don't want to make it appear like we are, like, neglectful, or stuff like that, because it's definitely not true. But I just mean, like, what's going on inwardly. You know, if I'm, you know, like, upset inwardly because, I wanted to do this, but now I have to do this. You know what I mean? Yeah. And to, you know, to get rid of that, to root that out. And it's a process. But yeah, so that's one thing. God is teaching me through it, and teaching me how to, you know, be genuine, be the same person on the inside and out, be loving, be, like, wanting to do the right thing for them, and not just out of rote necessity, you know. And it's good, and I'm very grateful, you know. But yeah, so that's one thing. What was your favorite album that came out in 2020?
I'm actually going to do a top 10 list.
Okay, so are you not wanting to say?
No, I will. I will, because the album is that good. There was an album by a band that is not all that popular, and it breaks my heart. Their name is Rich People. Probably why they're not so popular. But
it's a great name.
Yeah, Rich People. And the album's called Harmony, and that it's almost perfect.
Okay, Rich People, Harmony.
Yeah.
Okay.
The album is called Harmony, and a friend of mine years ago got me into them, and they put out some decent music before, but this was their first full-length album. And we had listened to, Brooke and I had listened to like a couple singles that came out, and then out of nowhere there's like, oh bam, 12 songs, and I just put it on in the car, and I mean, I just couldn't get enough of it.
Nice.
Yeah, couldn't say enough good things about that album.
I was hoping that the album was going to be called like "Blessed Are the Poor," just for
yeah, and it's not a Christian band.
What?
No, it's artsy. No, they
don't. But they're decent though. They're not like super unwholesome, or what do you think?
No, I don't think. No, I don't think there's cussing in any of their songs.
Yeah.
I could have misheard something. There might be, but I don't think there's any cussing. It's not heavy music at all. It's very upbeat rock. You know, it's like clean guitar, not even distorted guitar. I mean, it's great. Yeah, it's very good. It's good for pretty much anybody to listen to.
I couldn't even name you 10 albums that came out in 2020. Yeah. I couldn't even name 10 of them. It's just funny. I just the contrast there is funny. I do listen to music, but I don't really listen to new music. Yeah, I have like there's kind of this library that developed from I don't know, when I was a kid listening to the stuff that my parents listened to, but then up to maybe like 2010.
Sure.
And
then it ends there.
Basically.
I will go back to that plenty.
Yeah.
I do like to pay attention to new music, and it's tough to like it. So I like a lot of the same bands that happen to still be together, the same singers and things like that. So I like to think I have an eclectic style, and that's why I can get into newer music. But
yeah.
And I remember I asked you to do a reaction video. Like, I don't really care about music, or I don't really like new music. And
yeah.
All right.
I still would be willing to participate here and there, though. You know. Yeah, at least for my facial expressions.
Outside of the girls, what would you say is the best thing that happened to you or in your life this year?
Moving was a blessing.
Sure.
The place that we live in now, well, we wanted our kids to be able to go to school in person. That was part of it. It was a very abrupt move once the town we were in released their plan for the fall, like just before school started.
Yeah.
And we thought it was a terrible plan. And the girls were not going to be in school in person for a long time, if ever, or, and then just barely in a hybrid model. So, yeah, we moved to a smaller town where they're in school in person. The place that we live now is secluded. It's like in the woods. We got a yard. We got a bigger place. We have 2 bathrooms now. We're in a very small apartment before this.
Yeah.
So that's a blessing. I very much like living here, much better. So that's something.
Good.
Is your mind blown?
No. I mean, that was a big event for you guys, so I'm not super surprised that you'd say that was one of the better ones.
I see. Can I guess your favorite color?
Yeah.
Blue?
No.
Man.
What?
Well, we're asking each other questions. But instead of asking, I wanted to guess it.
Oh, okay. It's not, no. Outside of our daughter being born, that directly affected us. And that's, we met people that became really close friends to us. I didn't really see that coming in that way. I won't name drop, but they work at a specific location of a place that we frequent, and they're a really great couple. They're younger than us. They've cooked me breakfast before, and we've had them over for dinner, and that was really cool. That, and then starting a new church that was completely unlike anything we had been to before, and just being immediately welcomed into that family, and being under someone's wing who saw something in me enough to ask me to be a member of the clergy, and that's just so that's special to me. It's different than the way the same type of positions were treated, in our previous experience. Mm-hmm. And so being that it's held in a higher regard, I think that meant a lot to me. And it helped me to raise the bar for myself and for our family. So now we're not moseying on in at, exactly at 10:30 anymore. We're not going to do things this way anymore because people look at us now, and, not in an authoritarian, angry husband type of way, but I monitor the clocks. And one more, because we're cheating on all these answers anyway, is the development that our family made of No Screen Sunday. It went from No Screen Sunday to being called Family Day so quickly, and that has just so abundantly blessed our family to, every Sunday from, right at midnight, we put we don't usually we aren't awake till midnight, but Saturday is my work day, so when we're not recording, I'm usually editing until 11 to be honest, and then I'll put the thing away. But anyway, so we wake up, and the only time I'll look at the screen is to check the time, and I'll say, this is when we have to leave for church. We leave the phones home, we plan some activity, and again, there's just no phones. We don't watch TV until after the time is up, and the time basically is up whenever my sisters-in-law are ready to FaceTime with us. Mm-hmm. So that kind of signals the end. So it's usually 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock.
That could have been a good way to get out of that.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry.
Well, that was our developed day to talk with them. But just being forced to talk with my wife and have a conversation in the car instead of listening to music. Mm-hmm. It's almost become fun. Well, not almost. It has become fun, because it went from no radio, no screens, or no phones, or no this. It's how are we going to use this time? And so
good. That
was huge. What was the best news in your life that you got this year, but that did not directly influence you or affect you?
So it could just be news in the world or something that happened.
Well, in your life, but not in your circle.
Now, do you have an answer for yourself?
Yes.
I would like to hear your answer so I can have an example of what you mean.
Sure. So I have, again, two, because this is our podcast and we make the rules. One is Cody James, MSC, our musical provider, got engaged.
Yes.
And as, a friend of his for 10 years now, which is wild, that, when he told me that news, I was so happy for him. And so that's what I mean, good news that doesn't directly affect us, because that's his life, and, his marriage won't, it'll affect me, but, that's not my family. For him to be able to propose, and she says yes, it's just this culmination of something that I'm so happy to have been a part of. Mm-hmm. So that, and then also my sister-in-law and brother-in-law having my nephew. Again, they told us she was pregnant in January, so that also happened this year. And again, just an event that I was so happy to, say, being that I'm married into that side of the family. So calling them my family, but also they're some of my closest and oldest friends. Again, just being able to share in that happiness, and then saying, man, that's my nephew now.
This is sad. But also just someone I know, a person special in my life who passed away, mm-hmm. but who has suffered immensely over the past, I don't know, maybe 13 years when he first got cancer. Mm-hmm. And a man who went to the same church that I did growing up and was my youth pastor, and just was close with their family. They're just a great people, and he's such a godly man.
Yeah,
really someone that you want to emulate in his demeanor, and really a great man and a great example of a Christian. And he did pass away this year, which was, terribly sad and awful that he's not here. But the fact that he's, I think about him from time to time. I think about that he's with the Lord, and he's not suffering anymore. So, as you were talking, that came up, even though it doesn't fit exactly. So, and then just a pure good or happy thing. It is within my family. I don't know. That's all I got. Is my wife was able to start a cleaning business, and she just she's still a very, very low number of recurring clients because she just started. But like today, she just had another recurring client that she began that account this morning, and it went well, and she's going to be continuing to clean this individual's home on a weekly basis for a little bit, and then bi-weekly. And so that's to see her step out in faith and take this little leap. And I really think she was a professional cleaner before where we lived in Spokane, but now this would be her own business, and she's, trying to do this, make more money, be her own boss, and do something that she enjoys more. And so I think it's going well, and I'm proud of her, and she's very capable, and I hoping the Lord's gonna bless it and that she can be my sugar mama.
While we chase this dream.
I can kick back and just chill out at home and have her pay all the bills and give me an allowance.
That's how I felt being laid off and having my wife work, and I'm like, she's like, oh, did you get any work done today? And that just means working on this podcast that as of recording, we have not made a single dollar on patreon.com/verygoodchristianpodcast.
Pay us money.
Here's an easy one. Here's a nice quick one, I sure hope. Did you get the vid?
Well, not officially.
Me either.
Yeah. I mean, both of us probably could look back in the past 7 months and think of a time like, well, maybe I had it. Because, of course, what is it? Most people who get it have no symptoms. So we both could have it right now and be sharing it with one another. Mine could be fighting yours and be like, no, I'm tougher. And you're like, oh, my dad could beat up your dad. That might be happening in the air between us.
Any major accomplishments that you completed this year?
Well, I don't know. We started a podcast. Can I answer that for everything?
Yes, because that's mostly my answer.
I started a podcast.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that was the best news and compare it with love and children being born, but I, just having this podcast has been very, very positive for me.
Good.
Even though it's not like we vent and talk, angry talk or whatever, but it's nice to have this time. One of my big accomplishment, I think, is I finally finished this book. I started it this year and would read a chapter a month because I wanted to read more, and I was gifted 3 or 4 books by our pastor. And did not.
Books are always good gifts.
Yeah. Oh, I love having them, but it's.
I will say that within the higher church and Anglican sort of community, the number of books I've been given is awesome. These people read, and I like it. And for my ordination as deacon, I got a bunch of gifts. Almost all of them were books. I'm like, nice, John Stott, and it just. Great stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, I like getting books.
Yeah. I finished a book called, the book was called The Case for Jesus, not to be confused with The Case for Christ.
Or The Case for Jesus Christ, which I'm writing currently.
No, it's The Case for Jesus. And it was an apologetics book that I started again this year. And just a lot of great stuff in that book. And it was, I wish I had done it faster, but I gave myself time to really digest some of it. So when I finally finished it, I went, wow, I just finished this amazing book, because it was an easy read, but very informative.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that. And yeah, we all like The Mandalorian.
Oh, okay.
That didn't come out this year, but season 2 is this year.
No, it did come out this year. Yes, because we watched it in... Oh, wait. No. Maybe it didn't. I don't know if it did.
Well, season 2 is out now. And
yeah,
our daughter loves when the child makes baby noises.
Oh, nice.
And so it's something that it's fun for the whole family.
Sure.
And not exactly a 2020 thing because it's season 2. But...
Oh, yes. So, yeah, we liked that as well. I disliked the last Star Wars.
Yeah.
That whole... The sequel trilogy, I don't know. The first one, I did like, because you had all the retro stuff. J.J. Abrams did a good job, but then like the second one, was it The Last Jedi or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I disliked that. And then the third one, they made her related to what's his face, the Emperor. Oh my goodness. Anyway, so that was almost 2020. It was December.
Yeah,
2019,
almost 2020,
which basically counts.
Okay.
And yeah, so that movie was garbage. Not that you asked, but I didn't like it all that much.
Yeah. All right. Final question. It's another cliche, but
nice.
What are your personal goals for Very Good Christian Podcast in 2021?
That's a good question. I would like to see our content getting up to like 1,000 views each. And is that like across all platforms? Well, if it has to be across all, that fine. But it'd be cool if it just on YouTube to do that. And to get some subscribers and pumping out some. I don't know. Should I have like a specific on that, like a monthly? Even if it's low, even if it's like $100 or whatever, that'd be great. Just to get that rolling,
Yeah.
like get some monthly subscribers and have this group, even if it's a small to begin with group of people that we're building a community with and getting content out to. So, yeah.
Sure. My goal is similar. We've talked about, Lord willing, if this is make a living on this thing, and that's not where I'm going, especially, within a year or anything. But I would like to have content in a way that we can have Patreon exclusive. So we have enough content and enough good content that we can make exclusive to one because we have YouTube videos and then some things that are audio and YouTube. But I would just like to have some things that are exclusive to Patreon, some things that are exclusive to YouTube, and some things that are exclusive audio that we don't have to put on YouTube even. And just be confident in doing that. And I also just hope that some big event happens where I can travel somewhere and interview people the way that I see it.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. When you have marches or parades or any sort of, even if it's a protest, I would like to be in a spot where one of us, both of us, myself and my spouse, you and your spouse, whatever it is, I would like to have an event where we can attend. And
I agree with that goal.
And all of you watching can help us attain all of our goals by subscribing to our YouTube channel, sharing our YouTube videos, listening also on our audio-only platforms, and considering becoming Patreon subscribers. Anything else, Sean?
We enjoy hanging out with you. Share our stuff. Give us money. View our stuff over and over and over. Thank you, Mom. I I know you're watching.
And we will see you guys in 2021.